From Crisler Arena to courts around the world, they wore the maize and blue, and now they're bringing you the game, inside and out. Hail Media presents Nolan and Hobbs, the Women's Hoop Home Court podcast, hosted by Maddie Nolan and Jordan Hobbs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Nolan and Hobbs show with me, Maddie Nolan, and my co-host, Jordan Hobbs. We have a very special guest today, and then we are going to recap the March Madness wins from this weekend and then do a little preview of the Louisville Sweet 16 game coming up this weekend. So we're super excited.
All right. Hello, everyone. We are so excited to have our teammate Leigha Brown on today. 18th all-time in Michigan scoring with 1,188 points, almost hit the 2,000 mark in her career. First team All Big Ten in 2023, was second team in 2021 and 2022, and 11th all-time in assists at Michigan with 311. A lot of those were passes to me, so thanks, Leigha, for always finding me in the corner. So the no looks. But we're just so excited to have you on today, so thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Basically, all those stats just kind of give you a glimpse of how much of a dog Leigha is. If you didn't watch her, go watch some of her highlights because they're some of the best you'll ever see. It's like and one mixtape on repeat.
No, you guys are making me look good.
All right, let's get into some of these questions. We'll start with a little bit before college, just some of you growing up. So you grew up in the great Hoosier state of Indiana. How did you first get into basketball?
Honestly, that was because of my dad. I feel like growing up, we always had like the little Tykes mini hoop, and he was playing on his knees, like we're playing one-on-one in the house. And so, yeah, it's always been something that's been a really big part of my life, and definitely started off young. So
yeah, did you guys have a hoop in your driveway too, as like a lot of Indiana kids do?
Yeah, the hoop that we still have now was the hoop that I grew up with, and so it's getting to the point of needing a new one. But yeah, there's been a lot of baskets made on that hoop for sure.
When did you realize that you loved basketball? Obviously, you said you played with your dad when you were younger, but was there a moment in your career where you were like, I want to play in college, or like, I want to play professionally?
Yeah, I feel like my whole childhood, I actually grew up like a raging Tennessee fan when Pat Summitt was there, and so I would grow up going to the Lady Vol camps, and we would make the trip from there every year. And so, honestly, that was the goal, was to go to Tennessee and be coached by Pat Summitt. And so things looked a little bit different, but yeah, I think I didn't know that it was realistic. I would say I feel like that's a lot of kids' dreams that play basketball. That just like I want to go to college, I want to play in the WNBA, and I want to do all these things. And so, but I'd say it definitely hit around like the high school, when you start getting the interest from colleges. So it was always a dream, not always the reality until later on.
So you kind of mentioned a little bit about, getting some interest in high school. And I remember you telling us you were a little bit underrated in high school. So can you just talk a little bit about that and what your recruiting process looked like?
Yeah, I even took visits to like some Division II schools, Grand Valley State obviously being a really great Division II, but that was one of my first offers that I got. And then so from then it was just a lot of like mid-major interest, and I think Nebraska was my first like Power 5 or like bigger offer where I was like just jumped on it right away. I think a day after I got that offer, there was one from like Xavier, I want to say. But other than that, those were the only two. IU, I remember, was interested and reached out to one of their coaches after getting some interest and didn't hear anything back. And so, yeah, so that's how it was, I guess. And yeah, so honestly, everything happened for a reason. It worked out, ended up where I did, and I met the people that I did, and we had the team that we did. And so, yeah, that's all right. We've always been underdogs. Just is very fitting, I guess.
I think facts. Yeah, I think that's like one of the most fun parts of our time at Michigan is you were under-recruited. Emily and Danielle not playing their first couple years. I wasn't super highly recruited. Even Jordan wasn't highly recruited. Like we just kind of had a fun little mix of people. And then like obviously Nas was Nas, but we just had that group of like I think that's why we played so well, because we had this chip on our shoulders of just like, screw you guys for not recruiting us, like we're gonna come out and we're gonna like kick your butt, and it was made it that much more sweet because we knew what we went through in the recruiting process.
Yeah, had a little grit to us, that's for sure.
Just a little.
100%.
Me and
A
you,
little
Leah, we're super
attitude.
chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just super chill. Never would yell at the refs.
Oh, no, not at all.
Never.
Not at
Who
all.
would
Never
do
raised our
that?
voices, yeah.
Super calm, cool, always collected. Yeah.
That's exactly how
Gosh.
exactly how I would describe it too, so glad we're on the
Yeah.
same page there.
Good. Perfect. So you go to Nebraska for 2 years, have like pretty good seasons there, but end up winning 6th player of the year in the Big Ten, averaging 14 points off the bench, which is like kind of crazy. But what was it like to win the 6th player of the year?
It was, I think, some mixed emotions. I think in a league that's as good as the Big Ten and there are as many talented players as there are, I feel like it's definitely an honor, obviously, to be considered among all those people. But I think at that point in time, because it was kind of such a sensitive subject, coming off the bench and being the leading scorer and all of these things, that I was like, okay, cool, I'm the 6th player of the year, but like, I don't want to be the 6th player. And so
Yeah.
that was definitely something that, especially now as I've gotten older and I realize like the importance of, role players and people coming off the bench, and there are so many other things instead of just, being the starting player who's the leading scorer. And so I think like I said, now looking back, it's a really cool accomplishment. Not that it wasn't then, but I think at that time I was just a little bit butthurt, I guess you could say, that I didn't want to be a 6th player. But yeah, definitely it's really cool and it is an honor for sure.
Okay, so won 6th player of the year, huge accomplishment as we mentioned, and then you transfer to Michigan. What went into that decision to go to Michigan?
I played Michigan and I was like, damn, I don't want to do this again. I just think that seeing the team and the culture, I feel like everyone talks about culture, but I feel like that was a team where you could tell that the culture was real. Like, it's not just some word that is being used as a recruiting tool. Yeah, I just feel like the chemistry, all of it was there. And yeah, Michigan was kind of where I wanted to go before I even had my name in the transfer portal. It was something that I would tell my family, like, wow, I want to play for a team like that. And so, yeah, I mean, fortunately it worked out, and everything happened the way that it did. But yeah, I think the whole time I knew it was Michigan, even kind of being in contact with some of the other schools. There's always something special about Michigan and what they brought.
Yeah, and it was after was it your sophomore year?
It
Yeah, it would have
was
been like during COVID,
when the
right?
season ended short, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I
So
committed
you
to
couldn't even
Michigan
go on a
without even.
visit.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
I committed without visiting.
Yeah.
I wanna say it was, like, at least a few weeks or a month after I committed. I was kinda just coming in blind, but, um, yeah, ended up working out, so.
I have a funny story, and Leah knows this story, and I think Jordan does too, but for everyone else. So this was like or right at the beginning of when the transfer portal was like becoming a thing. And so I don't think a lot of people like understood, I don't know, how like we knew how it worked, obviously, but just like getting a new person in who you've played against, and Leah's a competitor. So our team found out via Twitter that Leah was like one of my high school teammates texted me and was like, "Hey, Leigha Brown's coming to Michigan." I was like, "Ha ha ha, like you mean Michigan
Surprise!
State probably." Like shocked, and like, no, like they would have told us, right? And then I go on Twitter. That was like how you found info back then. Go on Twitter. Leigha Brown committed to Michigan. What? But so it was just so odd to keep playing against her, and obviously like, Leah being a competitor, and then having her on our team was so fun. And so, I mean, heading into that, Leah, like, what were your first impressions when you got to Michigan? Obviously, it was the COVID summer. We're figuring stuff out, but like, just in general, what did you think?
I feel like I was in a little over my head a little bit, especially considering I had to take 18 credits and like the 6 weeks or whatever we had for summer, like, it
That
was
was
a
crazy.
whirlwind and it was insane on top of it being COVID, just in general and so much going on. And so I do remember like a big part, and I remember even telling my family this when I was there, like, no, even though it was stressful and all the things, I feel like, you and Michelle actually like helped me being stuck in that townhouse together and like just figuring it out, like those are the only people that I saw along with our teammates, but I feel like
Yeah.
you guys just helped me like become comfortable, and there wasn't a lot of like adjustment. It was just a lot of like, wow, like these people are my people, like they're my teammates, and so I do think you and Michelle like really eased me into like being at Michigan, but like the team, and helped rip the Band-Aid off a lot easier. And so that was something that I still talk about now, like as crazy as we were and as weird as we were, it was just times that like we had so much fun, and it helped my adjustment, overall. So
Aw, well, I'm glad we could help. For those who don't know, like Leah came in during COVID summer. So like no one but the athletes were on campus. We didn't have a place to live because we had lived in the dorms the year
good
before. So we were trying to find a place to live. So one of our assistant coaches, Coach Sanchez, found us these like
jazz.
ginormous townhouses
Like
that
what, 6 bedrooms?
there are literally 6 bedrooms, like so big for 3 people. It was me, Michelle, Leah. There was a living room, a kitchen, like all these bedrooms, and then Emily,
Gibby
Danielle,
wall.
and the Gibby wall, and Dilk lived next door. So we had these like 2 townhouses, super big. We lived next to each other. And like probably the first week with being there, like this is Michelle and I's first time living it out of the dorms. We're like, let's put a bunch of Gibbies on the wall.
But
But
not
like,
a bunch.
keep
It
in
was
mind, this
like
is
100. Like it covered the whole entire wall.
But yeah, me and Michelle were like, this girl's gonna think we're so weird. Oh well, but obviously it worked. You stuck
I was
around.
just as weird, yeah, so
Yeah.
it worked out.
That's That's funny you say that Maddie and Michelle helped you, because I feel like Maddie, Michelle, and Leah, you helped me my freshman year. Like I was always at your guys'
Yeah.
apartment, always at the house. And like I think about when we went to the lake, Leah,
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
family, and like it was like such a fun time. And I was like freshly into this like freshman season, and I was like 2 weeks in, and I was like, what am I doing? But like, yeah, you took me under your wing, and I feel like it just got like passed down. So it's very helpful when you have a culture like
Yeah.
that, and people kind of just buy into it.
Yeah. I feel like that's the perfect word though, is the culture that we go back to. Is like I think that was our whole team. I mean, I think we had a lot of really great people, and so yeah.
Yeah. So your first year at Michigan, you had an insane stat line. Just kind of throughout your college career, you continued to get better and better. Was there ever like one point during the season that first year that you were like, man, I made a good decision to come here?
I feel like even in the summer, like I don't remember specifically, but I remember there was a moment of like me trying to kind of feel things out. And I was, like, way too passive, just things weren't going very well. I wasn't playing very well when I first got there because I wanted to fit in, and I didn't want people to think I was gonna come in and just take all the shots, because that was the belief that I had at Nebraska. Obviously, coming in, like, there is a worry there, rightfully so. And so, I don't know how long it had been, but I remember having a conversation with coach, and she had said, like, "Listen, you have to shoot the ball. You're a great passer. You can do all these things, but we need you to shoot the ball too." And so once I started to find my footing after that, like I found it easier to connect with everyone else and get them shots, and things just started going way better for myself. And so but like I said, I think when you're playing with a lot of the great players, obviously you said Nas earlier, and I said it my whole time playing with her, and she just does make your life easier. I feel like she also helped the adjustment of, throwing the ball up anywhere, she's gonna go get it. Her
Yeah.
motor, there's just so many things that just made it fun and made it, a lot easier to play. And so I definitely would say the summer, I can't remember exactly how long it lasted, but um, yeah, there at first was a little bit rough, so ended up finding my footing after a little while.
Yeah. I remember that. I can't remember if you told me or coach told me. They were like, Leah needs to stop, like she needs to shoot it more and stop passing all the time. Da, 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 da. And I was like, okay, like so down to see how
Yeah.
this works out. Like, and obviously it did. I was there for the whole time you were as well. But looking back on your stats, I knew you were great. I didn't realize you averaged like 18 points a game, like 4 rebounds, like 5 assists almost every year. And I was like, damn. Sometimes when you're in it, you just don't realize that I don't know, like I guess we didn't really look at like how many points a game everyone was averaging. We
Yeah.
were just there. But looking back, I'm like, geez, Leah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But did you have a favorite game outside of March Madness? Because we're going to get into that in a second. But a favorite game outside of March Madness that you played at Michigan?
I would say Baylor. I can't remember what year it was. But it was at the Classic, was it Connecticut?
Yeah, it was our junior
Oh,
year
that was a good one.
Yeah, so I think that would be it. I just feel like, especially because they had beat us, right, the year before
in the Sweet 16. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think that, yeah, and so I think getting them back was a little bit sweet, and gosh, I feel like my memory is so bad now that I'm trying to think of literally any other game that we played outside of, and I remember the Maryland game was one that sticks out to me, and at Maryland, beating them in their place, and it just felt like everything
The
was going
snowstorm
our
one?
yeah, it just felt like everything was going our way. Yeah, now they're all coming back. I'm thinking about the Northwestern game during COVID where we were ranked and they were saying like, "Oh, this is gonna be such a good game," and we were like kind of offended of like, "No, we're pretty good." And so then we came out and I remember we only had, I don't know if you guys were playing or if you were, I know Maddie, you were coming back from like the
I had
protocols.
COVID.
Yeah. And so I remember we had like 6 or 7 players and it just, yeah, now they're all coming back, but there are a lot of good memories, I guess, now that we're talking about it.
Yeah,
100%.
dude, the Baylor game was crazy because Nas fouled out in overtime.
Oh.
Leigha took over, hit the too little on, I can't remember who it was, but
I forgot about that.
Probably
maybe it was Bickle. Yeah, I can't remember, but like hit the too little, and I remember like
So
seeing
forgot
it
about that
live,
one.
and I was like,
And now it's your signature. I hear about you doing it overseas, so.
I did it one time. I did it once.
It's okay, I'm
I
so
did.
proud.
I texted Leigha. Thank you. I texted Leigha after my first game in France because I don't shoot pull-up jump. Now I shoot pull-up jumpers. Be surprised, everyone. I know. I shoot pull-up jumpers now. And I hit a pull-up jumper over this girl and I was like, that was kind of nasty. And I did the too little. I was just excited to make a pull-up jump shot. Anyway, Leigha, I texted Leigha.
You gotta talk.
Yeah, I texted Leigha. I'm like, I channeled Leigha Brown today and told like hit the too little.
That's like the best thing about overseas is the refs don't understand you, so you could say whatever you want and you're not getting teed up.
Right.
Overseas refs are
Well,
something else. That's another conversation.
I don't know. Leigha and I got technicals in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I got one in
But
Israel
we don't have to
too.
talk.
They've just
Dang.
they don't like us.
No,
I don't know
they're
why,
a little
but
softer
yeah,
over here, I think.
Yeah. They don't call the ones like at Assembly Hall.
Okay.
we don't need Jordan's got
Moving
some
on.
sensitive things on her mind.
No.
Anyway, we're gonna get into March Madness a little in honor of the time of the year. So we'll start with the first one at Michigan. Life in the bubble. Like, why are you laughing?
I just remembered it was so crazy. And Leah, remember me and you and Michelle laid behind the sign?
Oh my gosh, I heard about
She
this.
said, "What are you guys doing?"
And we were gonna scare like Jamie or something, and then we got in trouble.
Really, just anyone that would have come next. We were so excited, like giggling behind this poster, and then, yeah, got ruined.
Yeah.
And sitting out on the balconies getting some sun.
That first day, me and Michelle got fried. I remember she was so mad at us.
You guys
Looking
were
back,
so red.
Should have applied sunscreen, but hey,
We
what
were
are you
just
gonna
excited to be in the warmth.
Yes, yeah,
in the
anywhere
good weather.
else. Yeah.
And that's so valid. And if you have a balcony, you can't blame yourself for going outside and sitting in the sun.
No, I didn't have a balcony, and Leah was across the hall, and I was like, Leah, I'm coming over to your room.
I remember like we would see the other teams too, like hanging out on the balcony of like, oh, there's Sedona, and there's just people like hanging out outside where it's like you feel like you're in your own like world of basketball players almost. That like each floor is a different team, and so it was so weird. I remember that like, seeing just everyone like, hey.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of COVID, you couldn't be on the same floor. So it was like Michigan, Northwestern, Oregon, like so on. Wait, Leah, tell them about how they would deliver Wendy's to our doorstep for breakfast.
Oh my gosh. We would have, first of all, such an interesting choice of like, yeah, we're going to give you Wendy's every day when you're when you're playing the NCAA tournament. But we'll wake up. What time did they deliver it? Like, it was early because by the time I woke up, it was always, like, cold out in the hallway before I would get it. But it was, like, these, like you'd pick up the bag and there's, like, grease stains on the bottom of, like, Wendy's potato wedges, and I remember the only thing in there by the end that everyone was eating was, like, the granola bars or, like, there was something in
I
there.
like the granola.
Yeah, and so, yeah, waking up to, a big bag of Wendy's every morning for breakfast, that and the late night B-dubs.
Dude,
Just
they try to make us fat.
Wow, y'all
I'm
were
not
Yeah.
cool.
joking. No,
Exactly,
it
we were
was
ready
crazy.
to
It was
go,
like
yeah.
Wendy's for breakfast. Then they would give us like 2 trays for lunch and dinner. And then remember we got like Whataburger one time, like
Mhm.
B-dubs every other night. And we were like, okay, we can't be eating.
Yeah. We weren't gonna get too skinny there, that's for sure.
Definitely not.
That's
But
insane.
Leah, do you remember the big disparity of like the women's bubble versus the men's bubble and like
Yeah.
seeing the
Hard.
comparisons for the first time? Like, what did you think
Yeah.
of that? What was going through your mind?
I feel like in the moment, like, I think everyone was kind of, like, pissed, like, we were like,
Mm-hmm.
this is what we have to live with for the next, I mean, potentially weeks, like, we, had I don't even remember what it was, like, a couple yoga mats and stuff like that, but then I think once I saw, like, how frustrated everyone else was once it started getting more national attention and, like, those videos started going viral, and I saw how mad everyone else was too, it was like, yeah, this isn't just me, this isn't just us, like, we're not just, we don't have our feelings hurt, like, this is something that's a big issue, and so
Yeah.
but I remember they did it, they, like, made it happen so fast, like, bringing in the whole weight room and this whole setup that's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, why couldn't we just have this to begin with?" Where, like, why did it have to come to this of, like,
Yeah.
being called
Right.
out and yeah.
It's crazy too because the tournament was technically like NCAA tournament, and then the following year they finally rebranded, or maybe even 2 years after that, to March Madness to match the men. So it's even just like little
Yeah.
things like that. That's like why was it not March Madness
Right, to begin
in the
with.
first
Yeah.
Such a
place?
good
Like,
point.
yes.
Yeah. It's kind of the start, if you really think about it, of like the change of the
Yeah.
women's basketball popularity, honestly. Like that was a
Mhm.
big
Yes.
spark to it now that I think of it, which is pretty cool to like kind of pinpoint the moment and be a part of it.
Right, and then to see too, like, how far it's come now and, like, even with
Yeah.
the WNBPA
Mhm.
negotiations, like, the things
Right.
that,
Yes.
I mean, just seeing in the few years, like, how far it's come, and like you said,
For
cool to be a
sure.
part of that moment, definitely.
So in that bubble, you guys played FGCU the first
Mhm.
round, correct? Yeah, and people were low key like preying on your
Dude,
downfall.
yeah.
Upset alert.
And Leah, you went off. Yeah, like who was in the elevator saying that they would not
It
want to
was
play
Dick
FGCU?
Schaefer. I forgot about that.
So did
Yes, to
I.
Michelle. He was in
Yeah,
the elevator with Michelle, and this is when was he at A&M or Mississippi State? I can't remember.
I think it
He
was
was wherever
State.
he was before Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, wouldn't want to play them, and then they almost got upset by Troy,
Ooh,
and we were like,
yeah. Wouldn't wanna play them.
yeah. I forgot about that.
But in that game, you had 19 points in the third quarter. That's insane. But do you remember what was going through your head at all, or did you kind of just black out? Like, what was going
I
on?
think a little bit of both, like, I was just talking to my dad about this the other day because he had said, like, sometimes you just don't try to score, like, you're content just passing the ball around and just getting people involved, and he was like, and then all of a sudden, like, you have 20 points in a quarter and a half, and I'm like he's like, "What happened?" I was like, "I don't know, honestly." Like, I think some of it is just, like, the flow of the game, but I remember, like, in that moment with Nas being in foul trouble too, like, we were kind of in a hole and we had to figure it out. And I think a lot of people made big plays though. I remember, like Maddie, you had hit a couple threes there towards the end that really just extended the lead and kind of put them out of it. But um, I do remember AK. It was, I don't know why this is such a core memory in that moment. Me and Kirsten Bell were trading baskets like back and
Yeah.
forth. And I think I let her score on me and then I went down, I think I got an and one or scored or something. And AK came up to me and she was like, "Leah, like, you got to play defense." I was like, she was like, "I need you to play defense." I was like, "AK, I'm tired. Like, I don't." And then I ended up getting pulled out. And so I got a break. But Yeah, and so that was just a core memory of, like, AK still just demanding, like, demanding more, which is okay, which is rightfully so, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it just made me laugh of, like, Leah, I don't care if you're scoring, you play defense and get a stop."
Yeah. Right. I think that was the cool part about our team too, of like we had people obviously that could score and could play defense and but the ability to hold ourselves accountable, like it wasn't and it always have to be KBA doing it. Like we could
Mhm.
turn to each other and be like, all right, like come on, like let's pick it up. Like we know what we're supposed to be doing here. And I think that's what made us so good down the stretch, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I think even in, like, the film room, though, like, we were always really quick to,
Mm,
like, kinda coach each other up, where a lot of the times, like, the
yeah.
coaches I remember we had film sessions by ourselves sometimes up there, and so, I don't know a lot of teams, maybe they do, but I don't know a lot of teams that can kind of run through an entire film session, like, on their own and be able to point out things
Mhm.
about everyone else too, not just themselves, and so, um, yeah, that was definitely, like, we just had a special group. I think we were able to take accountability, and that definitely helped us.
Yeah, 100%. Well, now that like everything, every time you say something, I think of a new memory. Like Leah and I would, Harry was our position coach, and Leah and I were in the same group. And literally after almost every game, unless it was a bad loss, we wouldn't do it. But like on the plane ride home, it would be like Leah, Harry, me watching film on the plane. And sometimes even if like something would happen, like Leah and I, we lived together for a year and we'd go home and like put it on the TV and we'd be like, oh, like this is what we can be doing here. Like, oh, I missed you here. Like, let's like for next time we know that now. And I think that was always such a fun like memory for me to have Leah have such a high basketball IQ, and just being able to talk through games with her almost whenever we wanted.
Yeah. There were some pretty late nighters, I feel like, that we probably shouldn't have been up, we probably should have just let it go, but at the same time, you and I both I feel like a couple of times we would, like, try to go to sleep, and it's like, "I can't sleep, what are you doing? You wanna watch the game?"
Yes. Literally could never sleep after a game. But so going back to March Madness now, we took a little detour, but that's totally fine. So obviously you're part of Michigan's first Sweet 16 in the bubble, beating Tennessee, kind of a full circle moment for you going to the camps growing up and then being the underdog. We were the 6 seed, they were the 3 seed. Thoughts, like feelings after that initial win.
Um, it definitely was, like, surreal, like, I think you said full circle moment, and that was the perfect way to put it. I feel
Mhm.
like it's weird because not only after that game, but I felt like we all felt like we could beat anyone. Like, it was like, "Oh
Mm,
my god, we just beat Tennessee," like, I remember we were preparing for who was it at that point? It would've been Baylor. And then if we
okay.
would've beat Baylor, then we had, like, UConn would have been on the horizon. And I remember we were,
Yeah.
like, in the hotel, like, meeting room, and we all were going around, just, like, talking, and I can't remember if was it Chris Webber or somebody we had, like, she got to talk to
Yeah.
us. And so after that, like, Dee had spoken up and gave us this speech about how, like, we have nothing to lose, and, like, she thinks, like, we all felt like we could just beat anyone, and I feel like beating a team like Tennessee and historically how good they have been and how good they are, like, it just kinda gave us, like, this confidence that, like, we don't care who's next, like, we're gonna beat them. Obviously, that didn't happen, but I just remember being in the room and having this feeling of, like, "We're gonna win the national championship, like, this is great," you know?
Yeah, yeah, and this was Baylor, like Kim Mulkey's Baylor. They had like 2 or 3 WNBA players. Like we took them to overtime. I remember, like Danielle had an and one on the
On
one
Moon.
girl on Moon. Good night, Moon. Oh, but like just even, like we talked about being pretty much a bunch of like super under recruited players, HB and Nas, who like were pretty highly recruited, and then the rest of us were just like, cool, like let's roll out the ball and play. And to take Baylor at that point, even to overtime, I think we lost by 2 or 3, was just super surreal. And I think impactful for the following season. Like, do you remember coming in the next year with everyone, almost everyone returning?
Mhm.
Obviously we graduated AK and HB, who were pillars of our success and of our team, but like returned a lot of people. Like, what was the feeling heading into the next season even?
Yeah, I feel like it was huge, like, we kind of saw what we were capable of, and even, like, on paper, I feel like a lot of people would have written us off even still, of, like, they don't have
Mhm.
the stars, they don't have the professional, and so I think that, like, having the belief though that we did, like, within our program was just that was huge. Like, we really did feel like, this team is special and this team is going to, like, win championships, win, really big games, and so but I think, like, that run that we made, I think that was a really pivotal point in, like, our program even, and so that is definitely
For
something that
sure.
was really cool to be a part of, and that's why I wanted to go to Michigan in the first place, was to do something like that, and so that was definitely a really special moment for sure.
Yeah. Even when I was, like, getting recruited to Michigan, which was in the spring after that run happened, I was like, I remember looking at the roster and seeing who would return, and I was like, "Oh, shoot, like, Michigan's gonna be insane next year, and, like, yeah, I probably won't play, but I'm gonna get to learn from these girls, and I'm gonna be part of, like, history because they're gonna do something special even the following year." And I 100% agree. I think that's brought in a bunch of recruits. That's kind of put Michigan on the national scale, getting to that Sweet 16 and beating Tennessee. But going to the Elite Eight that next year, what was it like in March Madness to be able to host in front of the Crisler crowd?
Crazy. Like, I think at that point too, we had really started getting a student section, and it would just, like, became this atmosphere that just, like, was a dream for a lot of people to play in front of, and so, um, I think getting the opportunity not only to have your fans, but to have the familiarity of, like, where you practice every day and where you literally live, so it's like
Mhm.
there's not a lot of outside factors that maybe, like, traveling and doing all these other things would have kind of, like, factored into being so, and at that point, I mean, that had been the first time that we have hosted, I think, right? And so that was
Yeah.
another kind of just, like, milestone, which I feel like we had a lot of.
So back-to-back Sweet 16s. We're headed to Wichita, playing South Dakota. Do you remember walking into that stadium before the game? Or like, I think Tennessee and Louisville were playing before us. So Louisville's a red team, but do you remember going in there and looking around and being like,
That was not a neutral site game. Yeah, that was they had packed and packed buses full of South Dakota fans for that game, definitely. And you could tell
dude,
too
I
during the
thought they were
game, like, it
Louisville
was
fans.
yeah, probably,
Oh.
honestly. But yeah, the game that was one of the loudest like, neutral site games I think that I would have ever played at.
I have to bring this up and we'll put it in the podcast if you're okay with it. It's on your Instagram. But do you remember
Yeah.
this photo?
Yeah, me and my friend.
I'll text it. You and your friend. We'll put the photo in the podcast. But basically, it's Leah walking and this guy flipping her off. Did you see it during the game? I'm guessing not. Or did
No,
you?
I didn't. I could
Okay.
hear, like, chirping, and obviously I was being booed and stuff, but
Right.
I didn't know he did that. So it is what it
Like
is.
when you first saw the photo, were you like, what the heck? Or you were like, oh, this is awesome.
I think it was I thought it was pretty cool, like, especially because we won, where it was like, "Wow, this is
Yeah.
just, too sweet," like, yeah, I didn't make a lot of I remember that they were hostile, like, I know I'm pretty easy to kinda cheer against because of, my attitude and whatever you wanna call it, but they were pretty ruthless, like, yeah, and I don't remember her name, well, their big post player that fouled out, the blonde girl. But I remember them
Yeah.
panning to
She was
her
good.
when I did something, I turned the ball over, I did something, and she was celebrating so hard there on the bench after she fouled out, like, yeah, definitely not a lot of love lost, I feel like, between
Hey,
those 2
that's
people.
okay. But then obviously winning that game, making Michigan history again, going to the first Elite Eight. Do you remember the celebration in the locker room, the feeling afterwards? Like, take us through that as well.
That was yeah, I guess their pictures were just, like, pouring water on each other, I had to think about it for a second of what it was, but yeah, just insane water party, like, I remember KBA though said, like, I don't know if it was this year or the year before where she had told us, like, "You guys need to celebrate more," where we were just kinda like, "Alright, one more game." Like, at that point,
Yes.
it was like we expected to be there, and so, we didn't
Right.
celebrate it as much, and so I remember, yeah, that though we did just kinda go crazy, and everyone was soaking wet, and the cameras were everywhere,
Mhm.
water was flying everywhere, and so, yeah, just a pretty surreal feeling.
Yeah, it was, I was just talking to Danielle about this. That's why I remember. It was the Sweet 16 game when we hosted. We beat Villanova and we
Mm.
were in the locker room and we were just like sitting there and she came in
Yeah.
and she's like, woohoo. And we were all just like, yeah, like, duh, we were supposed to win. Like, we're
Right, you're supposed
hosting
to
and
be
we're
here.
like,
Yeah.
and then like when she said that, I remember something just like clicked in my brain. I was like, you're so right. I think it's because we'd gone to the Sweet 16 the year before. We expected to be there the year of. We
Right.
didn't realize like how
How
rare and
cool it
how
was.
hard
Yeah.
it was to go. And so for her to say that, I just remember being like, yeah, like why aren't we celebrating? And then I
Right.
think we went crazy after that, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
We just thought we
that
should
was
be
so
there. We
fun.
were yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It is like you
We were
said though,
just
like you don't realize in the moment. It's one of those things that's like you're just living it and you don't realize until looking back like how, big of a deal it is, like how many people get that opportunity compared to how many people don't. And so, yeah.
exactly. It is. It's one of my favorite time. Both all the Sweet 16, all of March Madness. Honestly, I was texting people last week. I was like, I'm like kind of sad that I don't get to play in March Madness
Yeah.
anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
such a highlight of the year.
I'm back. Where are we at?
We're just ending up about like March Madness. March Madness favorites, Dove products. I love the Dove products.
I saw someone's
boxes and
haul.
boxes.
I saw someone's haul on TikTok of like all the stuff they got and they had the deodorant. I was like, I miss my yearly supply of deodorant.
Literally, there was so much you never had to go grocery shopping for anything like that. Like
Guys, this
shampoo.
is bad. At Colorado, obviously I knew that was my last year of like going to the tournament. Like half of my teammates didn't want their stuff. I was like, hand it over. I walked out.
Right.
I filled my backpack. I took a bag. I'm not joking. My whole carry-on suitcase, half of it was Dove products. I haven't bought deodorant in like 2.5 years.
Hey,
Or
why would
shampoo.
you? If there's no need.
I can confirm because didn't you come to Ann Arbor after that, straight from the tournament? And I was like, Maddie, this is an absurd amount of products.
I will say I gifted to some friends and to some family. Like I didn't hoard all of it, but I definitely have a lot and I still have shampoo. I just ran out of deodorant, unfortunately. But I still have shampoo.
Going to
pretty
take
impressive.
your seventh, try to get another year of eligibility. Maybe you can be like a GA or something and go get some more this year. Next year, I guess
Maybe,
now. But
yeah. I like it. Way to think, Leah.
yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so after a great career in college, you get drafted 15th to the Atlanta Dream, and then you get traded to the Connecticut Sun. What was the process of hearing your name called, first of all, and then going into training camp? Can you just talk about both of those?
Yeah, I remember watching the draft. We got like a condo in Chicago to like throw just like a party with the family, and I remember when the draft started, I was just sitting there kind of by myself on this bench and just like so anxious of like, am I gonna hear it? When am I gonna hear it? Like, what is this gonna look like? And so it just like kept going and going, and the first round was over, and then the second round started, and I was under the impression that I would get like a call beforehand of like, hey, we're gonna pick you,
Yes.
whatever. And so I had none of that. Like it was literally like on the screen, like we select Leigha Brown, and I just kind of sat there for a second, and everyone was like doing a double take. And I remember the first person that I saw though was my dad. He just started crying. And I think then I started crying. Like we gave each other a hug, and he just had said to me like, "You did it." And yeah, it was just like a crazy feeling, and it didn't really hit until then. Obviously, we got like the phone calls and all of that, and then it was like almost immediately right to training camp, and that was just a whirlwind. Obviously, you're playing against the best basketball players in the world, and so even coming from a really competitive league and competitive like team that we had at Michigan, like it was just another level. And so I remember being so nervous the first day of training camp that like I was just choking down like these like I had a microwave at the hotel. That's the only thing I had. And so I bought these like egg bites, and I was trying to choke down some egg bites before the first day of training camp. And I just was like dead the whole time because I like didn't eat. I was so nervous. And so, yeah, I think after the first day it was okay, but I just remember like just felt crazy. Like yeah.
Nas was on that team, but was there any veteran that kind of took you under your wing or that you like really got some mentorship from?
I feel like at Atlanta, like, everyone was pretty cool. Like, I wouldn't say there was one person specifically that, like, took me under their wing, but I do think it was a team that, like, had a lot of fun together, and just, like, were good people, and so I think, like I said, even though there wasn't someone that was like, "Here, let me take you under my wing," there were just a lot of people that, like, really were there to help, and so, yeah, I think that was a really cool part, and so then, obviously, it sucked to get traded. It all happened really fast, and I had no idea what was happening. Yeah, but I am grateful for my experience in Atlanta, definitely, to start.
Yeah, so take us through the trade process. Like, do they tell you beforehand, or are you just like, are they like, here, and now you're on a plane? Like, what was it like?
It was, like, such an eerie feeling because I remember up until this point, a couple girls had gotten cut, and they were told, like, at the worst times, like, right after practice or, like, just, like, right before practice, and so I remember finishing up practice, and I just had it, like, people were lingering, the staff was lingering, where I was, like, in my head of, like, "Oh, this is gonna be the day." Like, this is like, at that point, you kind of expect it just because of the odds, like, of actually making it aren't great, and so someone on staff had come up and said, like, "Hey, Leah, like, they wanna talk to you in the like, over here in this room," and I was, like, in the office. And in my head, I was like, "Okay, I'm cut." Like, I literally wanted to say, "No, just save it. I'll just grab my stuff and I'll leave. I don't I don't
Yeah.
need to talk to you guys." Like, at that point, it's just like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh." And so I went in and I remember the first words he said were like, "This conversation is going to be like a whirlwind." And at that point, going from thinking I'm gonna be cut to then he's like, "Okay, so you're gonna have to get on a plane in 3 hours and fly to Connecticut, like, you're being traded." And so,
3 hours.
like, it literally was within hours that I had to, like, have my stuff packed and get out of there, like, get on a plane. And so it all happened so fast, but yeah, I mean, I kinda saw it coming. Not saw it coming, but, like, I expected the worst almost, but
Yeah.
definitely didn't expect for that to happen or to be traded even, so, yeah.
And then obviously you have a great, like, the Connecticut Sun were contenders. You have Dwana Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, a lot of other people, more vets on that team, I think, than on the Dream team. What was that like? I remember talking to you, but like, tell everyone what it was like to be just like playing on the same court with those people that you've been watching play for
Yeah.
since you were in high school, middle school.
Yeah, I mean, it's like starstruck, like, some point, it's like, "God, I need to pinch myself because, like, I don't even this is crazy right now." Like, I'm on the same court as all of these great, like you said, great players, and so I remember, like, the adjustment was kinda scary at first of, like, not wanting to mess up and wanting to just, like, make sure I'm paying attention and I'm doing everything right and I'm not, like, getting in the way because these players are so like, they've been around. They don't need to be instructed on how to do these things, and so it really was like,
Yeah.
"You better pay attention or you're not gonna know what you're doing." And so luckily, like, I had the best people to be able to pay attention to. But it definitely was a lot of pressure, like, especially Alyssa Thomas, like, she has very high standards, like, she's very competitive, she's very passionate, and, like, she isn't afraid to say, like, say what's up, and so, yeah, I had a couple moments of, like, "Okay." Like, um, but yeah, I mean, it was really cool. It was still an experience that, like, being around those players and those people, like, yeah, pretty surreal and just learned a lot, definitely.
Do you have a welcome to the league moment?
I would say so, like, obviously playing the 4, some of the, like I guarded my very first game, I guarded Elena Deladon. That was
No,
crazy.
that's that's
Literally,
brutal.
literally
Absolutely not.
guarded Brianna Stewart. Obviously, Brianna Stewart's guarding me. I remember, I think it was a playoff game, actually. We were down, so I was in at the end of the game and went to, like, pass it over my head into the post, and Stewie just slammed it back in my face like it was nothing, and I was like, "Okay." Like, "Yeah, you're right. That was a dumb pass." Um, yeah. I think I had a welcome to the league moment, like, on my own team, though, during practice. I remember, um, Steph was gonna sub me in at the 4, we were playing, like, live against the guys in practice, and she was like, "Leah, go sub in for AT." I was like, "Okay." So I try subbing in on a dead ball, and AT's like she looks at me, and she's like, "No." I said,
Yeah.
"Okay." Looked at Steph, and Steph was like and so I just went and stood on the sideline and, like, "Alright, you got it."
You're like, yes, ma'am.
"Yep, you're right, that was dumb." Yeah, so yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal.
Then you ended up playing in Belgium and then played in Puerto Rico the last 2 seasons. This past year, just insane season by you. Your team won the championship. You were the MVP of the tournament. Like, take us through whatever you want to share about any of your time overseas that you think people would want to be like interested in, I guess.
I feel like Puerto Rico, because you had said that it was so recent. I just feel like it was, I don't know, a really special experience. I feel like you obviously playing in that league for a year too, like it's a lot of games. It's a lot of, it can just become a lot on your body and so like that was something when the playoffs were over, we had played best of 3, best of 5, best of 7 every single game. Like we didn't end early because we just put ourselves in a hole. And so at that point you only have, instead of 1 day in between games, between series, you have 2. And so it was like just exhausting. Like at that point I was like, gosh, I don't want to touch a basketball or do anything for the next like however long. And then obviously like Israel came up. But yeah, I feel like playing professionally has been kind of a whirlwind too. In Belgium I was playing against girls who, with girls even, like one girl on my team was 16 and being recruited by Michigan. And so it was like just kind of like this like small world moment, but at the same time it was like frustrating playing with, the younger like. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've had a lot of different experiences and I feel like, yeah, obviously this last one in Puerto Rico was the best. It was the most successful and I think we had the best team, but yeah, definitely a lot of highs and lows, I think, as you guys can probably imagine, playing overseas. So, yeah.
There's nothing like practicing with the like 15 to 18-year-olds and they can't even dribble up the court and then you can't even run your play and get through the scout and you're just like, oh my God, I'm about to crash out.
Yes. It's so mentally taxing. Like you learn so much mental toughness. Like, yes.
Yes. And patience. Like I've never had to have patience like this. Like,
right. Look at you growing up, Jordan. Wow.
I know it's been a good year for me for a growth standpoint.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
We'll take it for sure. Well, just for the people they don't know, the Puerto Rican League is crazy in the sense that, what is it, like 3 months long, I think, Lee, or maybe 4?
Yeah.
And sometimes you play like 3 or 4 games in a week. Like a lot of times it's a game, 2 days game, 1 day game. I actually got to play Leigha in it 2 years ago when I was down there and I texted her before the game and I said, if you hit the too little on me, I will punch you.
I didn't. I listened.
She didn't. She listened. We had to guard each other though. It was so funny. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, please don't hit a pull up in my mouth. Like I was so scared.
See, that's what's so hard is like, obviously we're friends and we know each other. And so it's so hard on the court, like not acknowledging that, just like trying to keep it like straight faced and keep it like professional. And I just want to like be giggling over here the whole time with you. So yeah, that was definitely fun though. It was cool to see a familiar face and it was a cool opportunity to play against each other, even though it's better to play with each other, but
way better.
We should all run it back in Puerto Rico here next season.
Down.
I'd be down.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you were in Israel. Obviously, recently war broke out, and you had kind of a crazy trip home, a long trip home. Can you just take us through that whirlwind of probably just like a week in your life, like craziness?
Yeah. So I remember it was that Friday. So the war started on Saturday, and that Friday there was a statement released essentially saying like, if you're an American, get out of Israel. So we presented it to like our club, the other American and I, and they were just like, we'll wait and see what happens. Let's wait it out. And so there was like prior concern that when like we had brought up, and like there, it really is such a different world of like, this is what they experience all the time. And so they really didn't think too much of it. And so I remember waking up on the Saturday to like, it was like this Amber Alert sound. Except instead of saying like missing so-and-so, like it was literally like there are missiles detected in your area. And so that was before like the club had said anything. Like Haley and I woke up and we were like, what is happening right now? Like, what do we do? And so we're like panicking, trying to get a hold of everyone. And at that point, the airspaces were all closed right away. And so we were like, how do we get out of here? And like, meanwhile, there's like, sounds like fireworks above you, and you can feel the walls shaking, and you can feel like it was an experience that like I never would have thought I would be a part of. And so at that point, it was just like a waiting game. The club wasn't really helping. Like the men's team, actually, there's separate ownership, but the men's team was escorted on a bus from their houses to Jordan, the country over, and they were going to be flown out on a private jet from there. Like literally, it was insane. They just did not care. Yeah. And so all the other clubs, even the women's clubs, are trying to figure things out to get their players out, and ours wasn't really. And so they just kept saying like, wait it out, wait it out. And my other American teammate was pretty like forward and pushy about like, you need to find us a way to get home. Like, you need to get us a flight. You need to find something. And so we talked him, the owner, into, and this was like 5 days in at this point of like the war and just like having to shelter in place.
Wow.
And so he finally was like, okay, I'll supply transportation for you to the southern border between Egypt and Israel. And at that point, you're on your own. Like, I'm not paying for anything else. I'm not, like, literally, I have, like, no contact after that. And so we had to coordinate. Like, luckily, there was another team that we were able to meet there that helped us, like, get across the border and do all the things that you need to do. But, yeah, it was miserable. Just, like, I don't know how we would have done it on our own. And then on the drive, actually, it was, like, we got a van from our house to the border, and that's the one that they supplied. And then within there was 30 minutes left of the drive to get to the border, and all of a sudden you just feel this like fishtailing and like this jolt. I look over and the tires of our van have literally just fallen off, are rolling down the highway beside us, bouncing. And so it literally felt like it was like, is this a move? I wish I would have been wearing like metal glasses, because it would have been it was just like a crazy experience of like, are we ever going to get home? And so it ended up being a 3-day travel day. Like, we had to fly from Egypt, and from Egypt to Istanbul. We landed in Istanbul, and the first notification that we got was saying that they had just intercepted what they thought to believe Iranian missile. And so, yeah, it was crazy. It was like, it's not funny. I mean, like, but it was just like one of those things, like, what do you do but just like laugh? Like, what else can go wrong? Yeah. And so after a 3-day trip, it was, just felt kind of weird to be home almost. Like, it was just a long time coming, but at the same time, it just, so much went into it.
To finally make it. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're so glad you're safe. I remember I texted you.
Yeah.
My mom and Leah's grandma are still
They're
text a
besties.
lot.
Yeah.
They're besties for real. But my mom texted me. She's like, "Hey, have you talked to Leah recently? Like, she's escaping Israel and the wheels fell off her bus." And I was like, "This."
Oh, because that's crazy.
No, but she's like literally texted me like the wheels fell off her bus when they were like trying to leave, and I was like, "This is like unreal." So I texted Leah and I was like, "Hey, like, everything okay over there?"
My
But
gosh.
oh my gosh, we're just so glad you're safe and you're home, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
me
just
too.
like been taking a sec to hopefully like take a breath and like be at peace with what went on, and I can't even imagine like the mental side of that. But yeah, in a happier note, do you want to do rapid fire questions?
Oh gosh, let's do it.
Okay.
As long as they're not too hard.
All right. No, they're not.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Top 3 restaurants in Ann Arbor.
Oh gosh. No Tie. Mr. Spots. Loki Jolly Pumpkin too. That was somewhere that I was.
The Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
The Brussies.
I'm sure there are
That's
so
fire.
many
Those are
other
good.
ones that those are the first 3 I remember.
Hardest class you've ever taken at Michigan.
Ooh. Hardest class. I can't even remember what classes I took at Michigan. Like,
We had Jenny on last week, and she said aliens was her hard. Did you take like coral reefs or something like that?
I did.
Those are hard.
Actually, I took a Oh my gosh, my photography class, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And, like, it wasn't even it wasn't even graded hard, but it was like, I just have no artistic creativeness in my body at all, and so I actually, like, went back and looked at some of the photos I submitted that we had to present to the class, like, they were so bad. Like, I was actually embarrassed going back and seeing, like, "Leah, you submitted these for your, like." Yeah, that was what it was, the photography class.
Wait, what was the
That's
class that you and Michelle were in where you had to like
Music.
make like a beat? Yeah.
Yes, I was just trying to find this literally yesterday too. I was telling my sister about it because she got these turntables out, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Jayla!" Like Michelle and I took this class together where we like jokingly thought we had to like make a beat, and then turns out we had to present it to the class, and it was just like these garbage can sounds and like all these random things put together, and we were cracking up. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Best Michigan sporting event that you have been to other than basketball?
Ooh. Just probably a football game. Like I don't know one specifically, but obviously the football games there are just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Favorite moment wearing the block in?
Uh, I feel like the most proud was probably us not even winning like to get to the Elite Eight, but I think like as a weird answer, like almost like the feeling after my career was over of like where we were all kind of together and just reflecting on like what we had done and like the impact that we left. And so I know it's kind of weird, but like just I think the moment of reflection was just, just like a really proud moment, and it was really cool to see what we were able to do and what we created. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that answer. It's a good one.
Thanks.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you for joining. This was such a good episode. And I just loved catching up with you, and I'm sure Maddie as well. So thank you for taking your time, and yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, thank you guys.
First game of March Madness, round of 64 for the Wolverines. They beat Holy Cross 83-48. Maddie, what stuck out to you from this first game in the tournament?
Similar to what we've been talking about all year, dominance from the start. Michigan came out strong, punched first, and just continued to punch. They played as a team. They played quick. 17 assists, 9 turnovers, just getting back to, sharing the ball and playing a really, really good Michigan team basketball. I have a funny story. So I train kids at home in Indiana, and for March Madness, I sent out like the women's bracket challenge, and one of the girls, she's 8 years old, she picked Holy Cross to win the whole tournament, not just the game, the whole tournament. And I texted her sister and I was like, "Hey, like, what is this like a vendetta against me?" And she was like, "No." She said, "They have Jesus on their side, so they have to win." And then at halftime, I texted her mom and the older sister, and I said, "Hey, like, has she seen the score yet?" And they were like, "Yeah." And the little girl said, "Even with Jesus, they're cooked."
That is a phenomenal story. And you know what? Some girls on Michigan are believers too. So I think Michigan had Jesus too.
I do too. It was just a funny, like, I loved how she's like 8 years old and was just like,
No,
"Well,
that's
Holy
awesome.
Cross, like, obviously they're gonna win." And I was like, "Yeah, girl, I really love your faith."
That's just like the most pure hearted thing I've ever
It
heard.
really was. It really was. But then even say at halftime, she's like, "Even with Jesus, they're cooked." I lost it. I was like, "You are one of the funniest 8-year-olds I've ever I've ever met."
That is awesome. Oh my gosh.
Jordan, after that great story, what did you see from the game?
I loved how Tayala Del Foss played, and I truly
Dude.
think if they are going to keep advancing in this tournament, she is going to need to show up off the bench
Yeah.
and score at least 8 points per game. She was 4 for 8 in this game, 10 points, 5 rebounds. Her length has just really affected the game, even in the NC State game that we will talk about.
Yeah.
She's come in and been a really good spark off the bench. I mean, Michigan turned Holy Cross over 20 times. Their press has really worked these first 2 rounds. So I'm curious to see how it continues to go. But yeah, just a really strong game by Michigan to start out the tournament. Like you said, they started the game strong, ended strong. The second and third quarter were a little bit more even.
Yeah.
But they got the job done and were able to rest a little bit with 1 day break in between.
Yeah.
You don't want to play everybody 40 minutes. So it was nice that some of the bench players got in and got their feet wet with maybe some of their first March Madness minutes as well for some of the freshmen.
That's a really good point. And then Michigan followed it up with a great game against NC State, 92-63. Halftime was super close game. Michigan came out in the second half. Olivia Olson, 27 second half points. Silas Swords with 26, scoring her 1,000th point. Gotta give her flowers. Just has been phenomenal. Both of them obviously on it. And then the pressure, the press that we saw them, that was the difference in the game, in my opinion. Their ability to turn NC State over. Obviously, it was Zoe Brooks out with the injury to her foot after the Tennessee game in the first round. Helped Michigan with their press because they only had 1 point guard essentially at that point. But they did a great job of taking advantage of that. Yeah, Jordan, anything else you want to add or like thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of hammer your point home, NC State had 22 turnovers in this game. They average on the season, I believe, either less than 12 or less than 10. So significantly higher amount of turnovers. And like Maddie said, their primary ball handler and Zoe Brooks was out for that game. So I think that was in Michigan's favor for sure. But Michigan took advantage of it and they really brought the heat in the 3/4 court press that they like to do. And like I said about the Holy Cross, I'm excited to see how this plays out against another fast and an athletic team in Louisville that probably doesn't get pressed a lot just because they're very skilled and have some good ball handlers on their team.
Yeah, and just real quick, Michigan 40 rebounds, 22 assists, 6 turnovers in this game.
So
and
good.
there was a point in the game, Doug, our producer, actually put it on his Instagram story, but it was the 3 sophomores hit back to back to back threes. The Crisler was rocking.
Yes.
There was a timeout or subs or whatever. Alyssa Crockett came in and hit another 3. I was going crazy. It was so just like one of those games where everything was on in the second half for sure. Everything was going Michigan's way. Obviously, they were fighting, hardest working team in America, but it was just like, just so fun to watch and to celebrate with them over here.
100%. I was going crazy. Honestly, the first half I was going crazy in like an "Oh, what are we doing" type of way, and then the second half I was going crazy because I was so excited.
Michigan and their 3rd ever program Sweet 16 against Louisville this weekend. Jay, what do you know about the Cards?
I know that they are extremely well coached. Jeff Walls runs a tight ship at Louisville. He can pull strategies out left and right. He makes in-game adjustments. We saw that front and center my freshman year, Maddie's junior year, when we played them in the Elite Eight. He's a very good coach, so I think he's going to have a really good game plan. I'm curious to see how they play against Brooke Daniels. I mean, we've seen before that they're not going to guard her outside of the paint. But I'm curious to see how that defender guards the rest of the team. You know, they could send 2 at Olivia Olson, 2 at Silas Swords, or keep her in the paint. I think that is going to play a factor. But Louisville is just a pretty balanced team. They have 4 players averaging double figures. And then as it goes down the bench, you got 8-point scorers coming in. A lot of people making significant impact. They just have a really well-rounded team. There's not really one person that's going to stick out. We have Olivia Olson and Silas Swords that you really need to focus on, but on Louisville, you have to focus on every single player that's on the court. I mean, anyone can go off on any given night.
Completely agree. Something to point out, Skylar Jones, one of their 8-point scorers, has been kind of a core part of their team this whole season, is no longer with the team. Just they talked about it. There's not really details. It just she's no longer with the team. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out. Losing someone this late in the season who played a lot of minutes for you is always interesting to see how people adjust. Like Jordan said, Jeff Walls is probably one of the best coaches. Not probably, he's one of the best coaches in NCAA basketball. Me and Leah call him the clipboard wizard because watch his ATOs after timeout plays, just to see like what he draws up is always so impressive. He's really good at getting people shots when they need to get shots. But yeah, they're usually really good at defense, very similar styles in the sense of like there's going to be a lot of people diving on the floor, a lot of people going in for rebounds, blockouts. Like it's going to be a very, very physical game. And it's March though, like your Sweet 16 in March, that's just kind of how it is from here on out. So will be super interesting. They average 13.4 turnovers per game in a pretty solid ACC who has 5 teams in the Sweet 16. But look at that as something for Michigan, like I said, without one of their guards for them to try and exploit. Will be a really fun like, matchup here this weekend.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Down in Fort Worth, so not really close for either of the teams. Hoping the Michigan alumni show out. Down in Texas, when Maddie and I were in the Sweet 16 Elite 8, we definitely were outnumbered when it came to the fans. So it definitely can play a huge impact on the game. So if you're listening and you're in the Fort Worth area, go out to the game. But yeah, I mean, Louisville's really solid. They a good North Carolina team in March. They took Duke to overtime in the ACC tournament finals, and then they only beat Alabama by 1 in their last round. So had some close ones and some really good wins this season and even in this month. So I think it's going to be a really well-matched game, and I'm really excited to watch.
I'm super excited. And Jordan and I will make a scouting report and put it on the Substack. We just didn't have time this week with Louisville playing on Monday and then having the recording today. So that will be on Substack. So keep your eye out for that. Make sure you guys are following along there. And make sure you're either at the game or tuning in this weekend, hopefully for Michigan's second Elite 8 and first Final Four. Prayers.
Yeah. Go on. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Nolan and Hobbs show. We really enjoyed having Leigha Brown on the podcast and hope you did as well. As Maddie mentioned, make sure to tune in to the Michigan Wolverines playing Louisville this Saturday. I think either at 12:30 or 3 p.m. Eastern time. By the time this podcast is out, the time might be out. But tune in to them. And as always, go blue.
If you like this kind of content, please like, share, follow, and subscribe. And as always, go blue.
Favorite study spot on campus?
I would say the AC, just like a little random room. It's always nice to have. You laughing? I can't keep it together.
Like how serious you said it.
I know. I know. Next question.
Yeah, next.